Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm going to show you how we can configure Confluence Cloud to the Microsoft 365 as a data source, right? So why we wanted to do that, we wanted to make sure whatever the data we have created and configured and set it up within the cloud, within the Confluence Cloud basically, or Confluence pages, right? We wanted that data to be powered on the Copilot so that respective team or people who wanted to or who are using basically a Copilot for their productivity improvement, right? And they wanted to do their searchability as well as finding the content and data efficiently and faster way, right? So to do that, we can now connect our third-party cloud providers like Confluence, Salesforce, and there are many more. So I'm going to show you that as well in the video, right? And then in the demo, right? And then you would be able to see how you can configure it. So I'm going to configure it for Confluence Cloud, right? And that's going to help you how we can do that because Confluence is the one where which is going to be heavily used by different teams across the organization, right? So be it DevOps team, be it developer team, be it QA team, be it any team. Basically, the all teams which are part of working on something like building a tool or software or any programming or anything on the existing project or current or new project, right? So they do the lot of documentation. They do note down a lot of steps and who should do what and how we should do it, right? Because Confluence is the one where we have a lot many things to create and share it across the organization, and that helps a lot of team to reduce the dependencies and all those kind of things, right? So it's not only specific area, but a lot many things can be covered there, right? So without wasting much time, I'm going to start on the screen and show you how we can do that. But before that, I would like you to like this video so that we can also see lot many other videos, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video with their friends so that people can also see and keep learning on the new topics, right? So let's jump onto the demo and I'll show you how we can do that. All right, so let me share my screen here quickly. And we are here on the 365 portal, right? So from here, we need to go to home page because I'm going to show you from the beginning, right? So once we are here, we need to go to search under the settings and search and intelligence, right? And from here, we have option, which is called as data sources. So once you click on it, you would see nothing by default because that's not going to happen by default. We have to go ahead and create a connection to any of the respective data source, right? You can see that there are a bunch of data sources that can be integrated with Microsoft 365, and not only the use case of Copilot, but any other use cases, right? So including, let's say, training our internal models, which are associated or where we wanted to bring that data to 365 and also make sure that same data can be utilized with AWS. You can see the AWS is in preview currently. When WordPress, Confluence Cloud, that's what I'm going to show you in this video, along with Confluence on-premises and so many other sources like Tableau Cloud, Ignite, right? Oracle SQL database. So meetings, AHA is the one of the tool, ServiceNow ticketing, right? And so many other tools. Even you can bring data from ADO Git and Azure DevOps, right? So these are the different sources. And even if we wanted to bring, say, point servers data, that can also be configured here, right? So for on-premises, definitely there is a different setup altogether that we need to do. But for pure cloud-based services, there is something which we need to configure between the respective source and then the 365 environment, right? Even we have an option to set up file servers over here, right? So file servers is going to be obviously the on-premises environment where we can bring on the file servers endpoints to the 365 environment and bring that connection together to make that data source happen or bring that connection active. Postgres is one of those as well, right? So these are the connections, or I would say the data sources that we can connect with Microsoft 365 and can be onboarded and can be enrolled with the data or as a data sources, right? So let's jump onto the Confluence Cloud. that I'm going to show you. Once we select that, we need to click next here, right? So once we are here on the next page, you can see that we have a bunch of options over here. It says we need to give it a display name. We need to provide a basic authentication, right? And we can select either we wanted to select basic auth or which one to choose, right? And if we choose anyone here, it gives which one to choose. It gives us a connector point or connection that Microsoft has provided us, definitely, right? And then we can follow the steps over here, right? But it's very important to know and understand how we wanted to configure it, right? So there's an option for us to custom setup. We can click on this custom configurations over here and we can configure it, right? So let's say we are going to set it up. Okay, so it's just taking a bit time. All right. So once we click on that, you see there are different tabs available for us to configure. Under the users, we can set up the authentication and then we can target either a specific group or everyone across the organization. Then we have mapping identities option as well. Then there's option for us to select the content scope over here, right? Along with that, we have some of the content properties that can be synchronized from Confluence Cloud to the 365 environment, and that can be indexed and work with the search queries, right? So you can see that the right top column, this one, here we see the retrieve query and search queries, right? On the contents and all the other different parameters that can be configured, right? So basis on that, it's going to work with all those workloads and then synchronize the data. And at the last, we have option to configure the synchronization setup. How frequently we wanted to config or synchronize the data from Confluence to the 365 environment, and then probably we would be able to do that, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to set it up. So I'm on the Confluence Cloud URL over here, and then I would simply I'll just copy this URL, and once we are back, I'll just paste it here. You can see that once we put the URL, we have two options to select. If I select the OAuth 2, we need to provide client ID and client secret, right? So we will get that ID and data from the application. So now we need to create that from developer console over here. So there's an option for us, which is ForgeApp and OAuth 2.0 integration. So I'm going to select the second option and then give it a name to create this application, right? So let's say M365 integration, right? So once we do that, and then we have to accept the terms agreement. It should be done. Perfect. So once we check this box, and then we can just simply copy it and hit create button. So once we create that, it's going to generate that client ID and token for us, right? So once we have that one, so we can see that application ID over here, and which is a client ID. That's going to be this one. And we have to go back. So these are the permissions wherever we wanted to provide. So we need to provide appropriate permissions as well. So I'm going to provide this permission, right? And then we have uh, so many permissions over here. You can see that. So for now, I'm going to edit scope and then select all those permissions, whichever we wanted to provide. For now, I'm just trying to add everything because I just wanted to make sure nothing is missing and it is going to work as expected, right? All right, so permissions are added successfully. You can go back and you can see that it has permissions added 15, right? When we can add personal data and reporting APIs, because that's something which we can add even Jira API. And then on the authorization side, it says allow your app to access APIs of this one. So we need to allow that as well. So this is going to be a callback URI, but that's not needed in this case. So we can do that in situations where we wanted to do. And here you can see we have client app and secret. So this is going to be the credentials that we need to provide, right? And once we copy that details, we should be ready with this. Now we can see that we get the option to authorize that details, right? So once we do that, it's going to simply provide and validate that with that respective authentication. And then it's going to bring that connection to the activation, right? And then it's going to simply configure it, right? To do that, I have created few pages or Confluence pages where I have drafted some of the data, right? And that data is just for people or anyone can access. But once we, since there's a pop-up blocker, I just activate it and we need to authenticate or authorize that. All right, you can see that it is asking for authorization. So once we do that, it should allow us to configure it successfully. Oh, okay, it seems it did not identify the login credentials. So let's authenticate it. Should authenticate now. You can see I have, we are having trouble logging you, seems an issue. Okay. Not sure why it is just not logging in, but you can see it is already logged into the account, but it is not picking up the credentials to authenticate and authorize, right? So that's what it is it's trying to. Achieve. So let me check which instance it is where I have registered the application. And basis on that, I believe I have two different instances. That is why it is just not picking it up. Ah, this is right. So this is the instance. Let's go ahead and try it out now. That is strange. So this should authorize or this should allow us to authenticate and then we should be able to configure it appropriately, right? Let me go to settings here. There is no option. Then here. Seems I'll just try to leave it and then now I'll just refresh this whole page and try to bring that again because anyways we have already created connector in or application in developer option in the Confluence, so we should be able to. Okay, so it seems it has failed the draft and we just need to make sure it is connected. So you can see that there are different stages where it has current, crawl, next, and last. So these are the crawl stages where crawl as in it's going to simply index the data, right? So to do that, it has to identify everything together and then it should just start connecting, right? So then we can add the scope here plus. All right, now you can see that we got these options enabled as well as content. Under here, we should be able to see option to search the query, right? Whether we wanted to search and allow type in pages or blog posts or whatever it is, then we can allow those to limit it down on those contents only. And then we have the content properties. So by default, these are the properties that we can allow, but we have option to add properties as well, right? So based on that, we can search and filter properties on each of these options, right? So for now, I'm going to keep it simple and straightforward as is, so nothing much or no changes. And on the synchronization as well, we can select the recurrence on day, week, second week, or fourth week, or whatever it is, how we wanted to incrementally crawl that data, then full crawl on a particular day, week, or whatever is the second or fourth week, right? And then we have time zone to set up. So whichever time zone we wanted to set it up, we can simply set it that way and should be good there too. So I'll just keep it simple for this now. And it's very important to know to map the identities. Now, how it is going to do it is going to check and verify the user identities, including email address and their usernames, right? So that's the by default behavior. But when it does not approve or accept that one, we can search or select the second option here, and then it's going to allow us to add enter ID provisioning method, right? And map that identity, whether it is Active Directory SID or user principal name or AADID or mail, right? So whatever it is, we should be able to do that and add it here. And then we can create a formula to complete the mapping, how we wanted to map that identity with the from source account or source would be Confluence Cloud. The target is going to be the 365 environment for this to provide the appropriate mappings to that respective identity so that whoever is going to be using it, that identity should be mapping or mapped and then can be used appropriately. So for now, I'm going to keep it the by default one. And on this setup, you can see that here's the option which says roll out to limited audience. What does this means is that if you wanted to allow or make sure this connection is only created for a group of people, then we can select either those people over here or we can target a specific group. So this group is coming from Microsoft 365 environment, right? And then that group would be a part of this Confluence, right? So I'm going to select this group now and we get to see this option to create one. So let's go ahead and create now. And it's going to validate the connection, including the credentials that we have provided, right? And you can see that don't have required permissions to identify fraud. Okay. And what it says, it did not accept the permissions. Okay. So probably should complete the setup. Okay. Whether it accepts or it does not. Let's create. It's not giving any error. Probably it should just create and complete that one. Refresh this page and we can see if it is up. It is still showing as a draft. Not sure why it did not accept the change. So let me go back to the page again and we can simply edit and set it up. All right. Okay. So I think client ID and it was automatically cleaned up from here. I'll just copy it again. I just put it over here. Just copy secrets and then put it here. And we need to authorize it. So let's give it a minute to authorize. Oh, okay. The problem here is it's not authorizing it. So that's the problem, which is not accepting and it's simply redirecting to the same page again. Right. And let me see on the authorization side, because we have added permissions and everything together. And then we have made the appropriate changes as well. Content and properties and sync. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. Seems the password is not correct. So either I have to change the password of this account or I have to make changes on the application side. So this is the straightforward way, but it is not accepting that one. That's the but this is the way where we can simply go ahead and configure it, right? So that's something not accepting only from the Confluence side to authorize it, and it is not giving that way for us. So basically, it should accept it and then allow us to provide that one. Let me just go back and copy this one again. Paste it here. Copy this one. Paste it here. And right it. Okay, wait for a few minutes, then try again. Okay. Okay, just a minute. So probably we can just give it a minute or two. So this way we should be able to do it, right? So here even you can see that it requires the Confluence instance URL and the service account, right? So that's what it needs. And Confluence URL should look like this one. That means we have provided the right set of URL over here, and that should be it. Up. Uh, uh, okay. We go to settings and I remove those profiles. So I feel that there is show these profiles. That's why it is just simply not redirecting that to the correct profile. Oh, it is just erroring it out. Not sure why. But yeah, this way we should be able to configure it. And even you can see that I have created few Confluence pages here, right? And those pages can be indexed with these configurations and should be able to search it, right? So yeah, this is how we can do it. And definitely this is going to help us to configure it for the whole organization and can be used. So before that, let me try this method as well. I believe there is problem with, and let me try changing the password. Go to incognito window and try to log in. From there, we'll try to provide a password. Should send an email or it should give us option to reset a password. It is not sending out. Okay, here we got a link for setting a password. I'll just set up new password. Password is set up, and we should be good here. So this is logged in. I'll just keep it as is over here, and I'll just try to use basic authentication, and let's give the password. Hmm, that is strange. One basic. No, it's a API token. Ah, right. It's not a password. I forgot that one. Okay. So from here we need to create a API token. So we need to go to this URL. So there are few steps you can see, and from there we should be able to create API token from 365 API. So this is the expiration date created, and copy this API and just paste it here, then sign it. Perfect. You can see that it has a green check mark. That means it has authenticated. And even if you wanted to roll it out for a group, so I'm going to select that respective group wherever we wanted to allow, and should be good to create. Now, now it's going to validate that one. And once it is validated, now it seems it is creating connection. But one thing to know and learn here is that there was something missing or was not configured on OAuth 2.0, right? And it's always good to know, and probably a kind of secure way to set up with OAuth 2, right? And probably that can be resolved with appropriate steps, or by maybe we need to take help and support from Confluence side to get that validated, right? So yeah, this is how we should be able to do it. So let's give it a minute or two, and it should be configured over here, right? And let's, all right, it is success. Now you can see that there is an option for us to add the Copilot prompt, right? So what it says is enhance Copilot responses by adding connector descriptions. So what this connector is going to do, right? And I'm going to add, provide all the details from pages and other ways, right? So I'm just giving it a simple and short details and save it. And you can see here it is synchronizing, right? So it's going to be synchronizing, and once it is done, you can simply click on done button. So once that is done, you can see that it is preparing to synchronize, right? And once it is synchronized, so it's going to pull out all the data from Confluence to the 365 environment, not completely, or it's not moving or migrating any data, but what it's going to do is it's going to index the data, right? So once it has indexed the data, it is going to allow us to utilize the whole data, and we should be able to do the query and search results within the Copilot, right? So here's the Copilot, right? So under the Copilot, I can simply prompt the command, put and prompt here asking for find me, what was that? Okay, find me email OTP, OTP setup. So now this is a indirect prompt that we are putting in, and it seems it did not find the same, because here we see some of the resources and it did not find anything from the Confluence yet, because the system is preparing and synchronizing that data. Okay, seems there's one of the action required. Let's go ahead and click on that one. It says this will show the results from its connection to all search verticals. We can manage connection results later. Okay, let's save that change and let's see. Okay, it is still synchronizing, you can see, and it has to find all the data and everything together from by following current, scroll, next, and these are the different crawls. Found several successes, and probably just take a minute to, because there is nothing much or there is no lot of data, but still it has to run the sync. And it should be able to provide us that details, right? Okay, it is still synchronizing. Maybe it's going to take a bit of time. And also I want to show you here on the Copilot by entering the prompt, and it should answer the query as per the data which is there in the Confluence pages, right? So it should find the data and provide it us. So now it is running full sync. That is why probably it's going to take a bit of time, right? And once it finds appropriately, then we should be good to go ahead and search any of those content. So content is going to be searched directly from here to whatever you want to search. Let's say it's one of the controls page I have, right? And I just wanted to probably just find this one, and I can just probably enter it here and ask for it. It should search and provide that. Along with it should also give us the details of that Confluence page, or it should give us that Confluence page from here, and then it's easy for end users to redirect to that page, and they can get it from there as well. Okay, so it's going to big video or longer video, and that's why this is going to be time consuming as well, right? And that's why what I'll do is I'll just let it run or let it sync in the backend. And probably as I showed you in the chat or prompt window on the Copilot, and that's what it is going to do, right? So yeah, that's how we can configure and set it up for the whole organization and tenant between Confluence and 365 using Microsoft Graph Connector. And yeah, hope you learned something new, and will share with your friends and people around you so that they can also learn something new. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, people around you, and subscribe to the channel so that they can also learn it, right? So yeah, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.